turn it on. Just we also can put it into the transcripts program and then get transcripts just for note taking and so forth to capture all the insights. So we want to use the empathy circle practice for this discussion. We're going to have 4-minute turns. I don't know if somebody, Bill or someone, can take time.
Sure.
Okay. And the empathy circle practice is, fairly simple. One person is the speaker. Select your listener, and then you get 4 minutes to speak. Share a little bit, an idea or so. Pause, get a reflection, and then check. Did that person really understand you? If they did, then you continue with your train of thought. If they didn't, you just say it again, maybe in other words, and until you feel like you're heard to your satisfaction. And you're free to say anything you want. Total free speech here. Share any emotion, any thought. Everything is open. And then Bill will hold up a little sign that says time at the 4-minute mark. And yeah, there it is, an official sign. And at that point, wrap up what you're saying, like just come to a close, get your final reflection. And at that point, it becomes the turn of the listener to select they become the speaker, they select their listener, and the process continues. We're going to go around for, something like 90 minutes or so in this process. And also, if you're wanting to take notes, any kind of notes, I'm just going to put in a document here, a Google Doc. If you're a silent listener, you can just take any sort of notes and jot down any ideas in that document. So with that, we'll just jump right into it. The question was, what is your vision for an empathy-based retreat center in Santa Barbara, California, or whatever's on your mind? You can talk about anything that's basically alive for you. And I'll be the first listener just to model it. And who would like to be the first speaker?
I can do it.
Okay, I'm listening.
Okay, I'm just putting a message in the chat that I need to bounce at the top of the hour. So I don't have as much clarity as I'd like, but some things that are emerging, it would be that it just really warmly welcomes anybody who comes onto the property. There's like a reception desk that anybody who arrives is warmly welcomed. Let's see that various programs and retreats would be offered. It would people who wanted to conduct workshops or trainings could do so there, and it could be a 1-day or multi-day. It could be a residential event, or maybe they're just a day event. And so
can I reflect that so far? So what I'm hearing is you're saying that you want a sort of reception area that's very warm and inviting, and you're seeing that it could have there could be day-long events, there could be overnight events, just a variety of different types of events could be held there.
Right. Yeah. And let's see. There would be the grounds would be just amazing. The landscaping and the way the grounds were taken care of, and it would be really beautiful and nurturing just to sit in the garden. Okay. There would be the food would be like just amazing, like the best vegan and vegetarian options that on the planet, and it would be over the top. People would come there just because the food was so good. Okay. And then there would be a price structure that varied, so that that price wasn't always a barrier. So many retreat centers, especially in Santa Barbara, it stops a lot of people.
But so let me reflect that. So you're saying it's just this amazing space, just beautiful, and and it's just the wonderful food. So just something that's just really over the top in terms of attractive and engaging. And you're concerned about well, it's that the price isn't such that it restricts people. It's pretty expensive in Santa Barbara, and you like a variety of pricing so that that's not a barrier.
Right, and the grounds, the landscaping was like it just really, really again beautiful, and that it was just wonderful to just go sit in the garden. You take advantage of being in Santa Barbara, and people could come there for a weekend retreat, so you didn't have to be part of a program at all. It's just, um, but there was um, oh, you made it gave people easy access to all the fun things there are to do in Santa Barbara. And maybe there was organized like beach walks, or if that's what somebody wanted, but also there's so many trails in Santa Barbara, and hiking is becoming more and more and more popular. And that there was lots of guided hikes that were available to
So you're
people.
seeing it as a space people could just come to stay, and then it'd be all these different programs of different activities around Santa Barbara that they could do, including hiking and like that.
Right, right. So I like that. Yeah, a variety of programs people could participate in. Some of them are based right there at the retreat center. Personal growth stuff, communication stuff, empathy stuff. But there would also be physical component. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, so there'd be a physical component as well. There's hiking and so forth. I didn't know if I quite got that, but you feel heard?
Uh, yeah. And I'm wanting to respect the time. So
Okay, then it'll come back around too.
okay.
Uh, Catherine, can I speak to you? Do you feel ready?
Sure.
Yeah, so
So, so
we
I'm the listener and the reflector.
right, you're gonna be I'll speak a little and you reflect back. We have
Okay.
someone coming up there that's a permaculturist. So in terms of the landscaping, I'm looking at the design being based on permaculture. So gardening, sort of farming, if you want to reflect that
Wonderful. So
back.
I'm here. Yeah, yeah. I'm hearing that you already have someone in mind who's an expert in permaculture. So it's good. There's going to be some gardens and farming. So not just gardens for ornamental, but for food.
Yeah, so yeah, it's they're coming to do a site assessment. So see the water flow, all the just the general, what do we have in terms of the landscapes before we start going into the designing of that landscape. And so in terms of that part about having growing food, and it being sort of this permaculture ecological foundation is kind of one area that we're looking at now.
So one of they're going to do an assessment so they can really do a good job with the lay of the land and the water and so forth, and that there's an ecological component to this, which yeah.
Yeah, and we're going down there April 2nd I'll be there for a week or so. So you're all welcome to come. Bill's going to be coming down, so just let you know. I hope Roger can come, and you're not too far away, Catherine. So
Yeah, that would be beautiful. Okay, good. So that you're going to spend a week there starting April 2nd, did you say?
mhm.
Yeah. And to imagine forward the plans and maybe assess some things, and you said coming down from where are
It's
you?
the Bay Area, so I'm in the Bay
Oh,
Area. Yeah.
mhm,
So then it's right now we're sort of in the
mhm.
phase of cleaning it up. So there's a lot of furniture, tons of old mattresses. So we got the containers that getting stuff kind of cleaned out. And then we'll be doing some of these empathy circles there on the property. So just to kind of get the ball rolling. So the core is that message of empathy, but I just imagine, it being empathic permaculture, empathic culture, So it's really being the foundation of the space.
Yeah, so I'm hearing that the first phase is a big cleanup of the old things, furniture and mattresses that are there, and that it's going to be I guess it seems like an exploration still of how the ecological is going to fit in. The empathy is the core,
Mhm.
and then there's something around the ecology that's going to be brought in.
Yeah, I feel fully heard. Thank you. So if you want to speak, select your listener here. Yeah.
Okay. I'll just go next on the screen. That'd be on my screen. That'd be you, Jonathan. And I'm sorry that I missed a few check-ins. So okay, my vision. Wow. Um, well, one of the things that just popped into my head is what you said, Roger, about having a beautiful, welcoming presence at the front. Like, and I think that really the hospitality. That's what I was hearing in that, Roger, and inclusion and hospitality, inclusion, both. So I'm kind of echoing some of your vision of the inclusion in terms of the sliding scale and the warmth and hospitality. And
May I reflect?
and I also, yes, please.
So the idea of a welcoming, inviting portal or entrance or gateway, something that just was lovely, captivates your imagination. And you also are sympathetic to the sliding scale that was mentioned.
Yes, both sympathetic to and seeing it as an opportunity for diversity, which I think is important in community.
Mm-hmm. And you think that it's essential for diversity in community, making the barriers to access, removing the barriers of access is important to you.
Yes, for a richer pollination.
And so for a richer pollination.
Yeah. And let's see what else. Oh, I'm wondering if there can be a kind of like a kind of a campaign, just even in the local community of Santa Barbara, or to spread empathy as a culture. And to be, and again, I'm going to touch on Roger's vision of the allure of the incredible food and the incredible grounds, which is going to, to get people, which is beautiful to get people there in the first place. But then also to have it as a kind of a goal or a mindset that these practices of circle and empathy be able to be spread in a significant way in the community.
What I hear you saying is that the imagery and the livingness of Roger's inviting space, you want to be captured with the significance of empathy, and perhaps it could become an item or a movement in Santa Barbara, which amplifies the message of empathy and experience.
Yes, that Santa Barbara could be a little pilot place to experiment with how empathy can be grown as a cultural component.
So you're captivated by this whole project and the opportunity that the retreat on the hill above Santa Barbara gives to the community of Santa Barbara. And
Yeah, that it can become part of a way of life.
and it can become a way of life,
Yes.
and that's our
Yeah.
time.
Thank you.
Jay Mathis, would you reflect for me?
Sure.
In listening to our conversation,
Mhm.
what comes to my mind is an organization here in Berkeley called Cazadero Performing Arts Camp.
Okay.
And then you can reflect what I said back to me.
Sure, I can do that, and happy to do it at whatever pace I've had. What comes to your mind is something in Berkeley that is the Cazadero Arts Camp.
Yes, and Cazadero Arts Camp brings band and orchestra instruction to a redwood campsite in Gurneyville, which is about 70 miles from Berkeley.
Mm-hmm. So Cazadero Arts Camp brings band to Redwood Forest. I think you didn't say forest, in Gurneyville, 70 miles from San Francisco.
Yeah, what they do is it's intensive educational instruction for bands, orchestras, and choirs. It's band camp for high school students, and they have 2 months, and they have weekly sessions, and they bring 300 kids up there that practice their instruments and do a recital for the parents. And the point I'm trying to make is,
Mm-hmm.
what do you do with a expensive facility such as a camp in Guerneville in the Redwoods, or what do you do with a facility such as in Santa Barbara, and when you have to pay the bills? And so you can reflect that. I'm supposed to pause and let you reflect.
Okay. Yes. Let's see here. Up until now, so there is in Guernsey, there is the these high schoolers that it's an intensive high camp for band and for choir, and so the high schoolers go up there and and do that, and then the next piece was, how can you take an expensive retreat center and make sure that you pay the bills?
Yeah, and so you create, what's lovely about the retreat center in Santa Barbara is it has the potential of taking 100 people and organizing them for 1 week on some kind of an educational goal to be accomplished in 1 week.
Yes. So what's great about the retreat center in Santa Barbara is that it has the possibility of taking 100 people and putting them towards a specific educational goal in 1 week.
Yeah, and one group of people which are potential clients would be a orchestra that's forming out of 60 kids who come together specifically to learn how to play as an orchestra over the period of a week or two. And there's a possibility of a reoccurring yearly repeat of that phenomenon in order to get the same money to come in and support a program.
So basically, there's would be an opportunity for a reoccurring event for groups of students to form a particular band there at the retreat center. That could be recurring income.
Thank you. I feel fully heard. Now you have an opportunity to pick a listener and speak.
Okay. Let's see here. Well, I guess we haven't. Bill, are you available?
Yes, I am. Happy to listen.
All right. Okay, fantastic. And would it be all right if I maybe have a little bit faster pace?
Sure. We'll see if I can keep up. Sure. Let's give it a shot.
I concur what Jonathan is saying about making sure the bills are paid. I have no doubt of the empathetic capacity of this group and its extended network. And one of the things that comes to mind is partnerships, for example, to share around what Catherine said. It is to give opportunities for partnerships for local businesses, perhaps, let's say, or something like that.
Okay. Can you hear me? My internet is a little wonky. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now. Yes.
Okay. So you certainly concur with the idea of paying the bills, and and you have a lot of confidence in the group and the empathic part, we want to make sure that the nuts and bolts are taken care of. And a way to do that, and you see a way forward, is also in partnership with other. And correct me if I'm wrong, or something else.
Yes, and the awesome part about that is just using the potential idea of the retreat center as an asset. So, for example, if there's a partner, then being able to, let's say, a business partner, then be able to give them some space on the calendar for their own retreats or event spaces on the, in the retreat center. So being able to use that as a potential asset for any partners that could come on board.
Right. So in order to create a partnership, you're talking about, or a business partner, some sort of financial sharing arrangement or collaborative arrangement. You would also give them space to hold the partner to hold their own events and things like that. In other words, they would have both time and physical space for that.
Yes. I'm just reviewing the notes.
Sure.
Also, I think that it would, I like Jonathan's idea about kids to be able to potentially fully leverage the dormitory space. And in my mind, let's say, from thinking from a marketing standpoint, just a kind of wondering out loud. I don't have any specific answers for this, but like, what is the level that the accommodations could be brought up to? Let's say with the interior, I think interior designer Edwin that you mentioned, who's coming up, such that there could be, I guess, a question of what is the highest price point, reasonable price point could be offered for a retreat. Yeah. So.
Mm-hmm. So in thinking again in practical financial terms, you were thinking about how much to charge essentially, and what's the highest price point, and looking at if you do charge something that is on the higher end, do the accommodations sort of meet that? And what are the expectations? So I find that, not necessarily being anything put in cement, but looking at between matching the price point with the accommodations.
Yes, and such that you can offer the high end level as much as possible, and then when that's covered, at least then being able to offer, let's say, all the other opportunities that maybe are at a less price point.
Right. So you're figuring that once you cover, your nut, as they say in business, and that, then what, so that would be the higher price point, cover that, and then see what other kind of outreach you could do to, for lower prices.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's good. Also, I mean, on a practical standpoint, I know a Rinpoche from based in Nepal, and that's in terms of somebody who when it's ready or has the potential, that could be an interesting possibility. So I'll let him know about the center, if and as there could be an opportunity to to do some kind of an event.
Yeah, and you also know a Buddhist teacher in Tibet, and you would like to, once you understand what's going on with the center, you would like to contact him and then see what sort of events he might, be interested in hosting.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, Larry, let's get you in the mix.
Yeah.
All right, ready.
Oh, there he is. All right. So yeah, I align with a lot has been said. Specifically with something that Roger said about incorporating nature.
So Bill, you align with much of what's been said, especially with what Roger said about aligning with nature.
Yes, and so having been a special education teacher and having to take a lot of trainings, a lot of these trainings put you in a room with no windows, and if there are windows, they shut the curtains.
So with a lot of the training for special education, a lot of the trainings were in rooms with no windows, and they shut the curtains.
Right. So what I see is that the empathy circle does is it breaks down barriers, and it's not simply cognitive but emotional.
So you see the empathy circles as a way to break down barriers that are not only cognitive but emotional.
Right. A lot of times, what we try to do in special ed, I had kids in families in extreme crisis, is establish what we called therapeutic rapport.
And when you were in special ed, kids had an extreme crisis, and you established a rapport, a therapeutic rapport.
Right. So I feel that the empathy circle is an excellent tool and very efficient at establishing therapeutic rapport. And then you want to help people generalize that feeling by taking them out in nature, which is another way of listening with more of your senses.
And you see the empathy circle as a way of establishing rapport, and you see taking the kids out into nature is an excellent way to establish rapport.
Yeah, not just kids, but adults, whoever is there. Even you, Larry. I'm taking you too.
And not just kids taking into nature, but you're taking practically everyone.
Yes.
Well, we'll see, right?
Okay. So I'm really, and also my thing, I don't know whether this will fly or not, but I'd love to reach out to the Chumash Nation. And there are several things, Native Americans, they have a presence there, and to maybe use that as an artistic theme, Native American art.
So you not only want to reach out to the Buddhists in the community, but also to the American Indians, and you're interested in their art.
Yeah, I think it would be, it's a way of supporting local Native American artists, and then also honoring their history in the land.
And you're interested in supporting American artists and their history in the land.
Yeah, and of course Buddhists, but also Muslims, Jews, Christians, all religions, because I think that, as Edwin said, we share a common humanity.
And it sounds like you're open to a wide diversity and
Yeah.
a common humanity.
Yes. Thanks, Larry. I feel fully heard.
Thank you, Bill. Roger, will you be my listener?
Yes, happy to.
Thank you, Roger. Yeah, I'm really inspired by the conversation of envisioning an empathy center.
You're inspired by this conversation so far.
Yeah, with especially the idea of a center that's based on empathy, real empathy.
A center based on empathy, real empathy.
Yeah. I recently came across an acronym that says something like it's similar to the word rhino, but I know is EINO is the I know kind of empathy, but that's not empathy.
So I'm not sure that I'm getting this piece. So you came across an acronym that you liked, similar to Rhino, but it's I know, EINO, like I know, and
Exactly. Thank you, Roger.
that's not
That-
the empathy that you want.
Correct. That would be empathy in name only, or I know better than you know.
Yeah, so it's a type of listening that's not empathy.
Right. I really agree with what Marshall Rosenberg said about how, we've been living under this domination structure for thousands of years.
So you're in alignment with Marshall Rosenberg's words about that we've lived under a domination culture for thousands of years.
Yes, and I think empathy actually is the antidote.
And you believe empathy is the antidote.
And I just love envisioning a center where everyone would actually be welcome, not not almost, but really welcome.
And you love envisioning an empathy center where people are really welcomed with an authentic type of hospitality.
Exactly. Not just in name only, but a lived empathic life.
Not just a name only, but a lived empathic life that they can experience when they walk in.
Thank you, Roger. I feel fully heard. Thank you.
Thank you. And so I want to check with you, Edwin. This would be my second.
Yeah, you can choose any listener. We just keep going. You might just choose anyone.
Okay. Catherine, would you be willing? Thank you. So
Yes.
I too am really enjoying this conversation, and I particularly like the pieces that offer vision versus getting caught up in the nuts and bolts at this point. This right now is just like the big picture. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm hearing that you're enjoying the conversation, and especially the part that's big in terms of the wider vision rather than the nuts and bolts of it.
Yeah. So pieces that I would like to hear more about is spirituality. There's a church there. This place was a seminary, okay? And how do we maximize that? how do we define our own spirituality? I think this visioning is a big piece of that. Okay, but there would be classes on meditation, but other spiritual practices would be incorporated into the curriculum.
Yes, so I'm hearing that a piece that you'd love to explore more is the spiritual component, in part honoring the deep spiritual work that has been done there on that site, and to just explore how that can look, and have people be exploring their own spirituality and what is it, and where does it go from here.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yes, and so there would also be the physical component of like classes in dance and yoga, and that would incorporate movement. Big picture, I'm seeing the venue has a curriculum of its own, like that is revised every quarter, every 6 months, and you got a catalog of all the things you're offering that are set up in advance. But there was also space there for somebody else who, as calendar and space permitted, for somebody else to bring in their workshop. And so it would be a combination of the stuff that is the events that are sponsored by the venue, and then there would be events that the venue is just providing the space and whatever support somebody else needed to come in and do their event. So they'd get housing and lodging and yeah.
Yes, so there's this vision of having a curriculum, like a home curriculum, home to the retreat center, that's always there and available, offered to people. And then there are guest stars coming in and bringing their work.
Yeah. Also, that it would be open to the public for somebody just wants to come in and do a silent retreat for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days a week, and there would be space for that.
Yeah, so that there's a space set aside for people to just come in as individuals, wanting a place to land and explore their spirituality or rest and rejuvenate.
And I got one more piece, and that's that
Yes.
in order to connect more fully and service the local community, providing space for 12-step programs that needed a space to meet.
To as a service to the community, to include a place for 12-step programs for people to meet, to do their recovery work. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And let's see, Edwin, would you like to be my listener?
Yes, listening.
Thank you. The piece about the 12 steps landed for me because of what I mentioned before in my check-in about the people who are either having mental health challenges or in recovery, and having them have a wonderful place to do that very hard work that they do.
So the 12-step idea really resonated with you because it connects with the mental health work that you were talking about before, because it's difficult work, and having space for that would be good.
Let's see. And I have some inquiry around some things that came up for me about what you spoke, Jay Matthias, about kind of having tiers, including the furnishings of the rooms. And where my mind went was picturing maybe a group, like where some people would have the kind of like more scaled down versions of rooms, and others would have the scaled up. And my understanding is that some of the struggle, conflict, and alienation that people have in our society that the hunters and gatherers didn't have, because the hunters and gatherers, they all had the same stuff. They were all at the same level economically. And as soon as you give some people more than others, it brings discord.
So I'm hearing that you have
both
Oh,
consciously and unconsciously. Discord.
Sorry, a little bit of a lag there. Yeah, so you have concerns about sort of a differentiating the quality of the room, because as soon as you create that sort of differentiation, sort of different classes, it creates conscious or even subconscious discord. And so just feeling a sense of concern about that.
Yeah. I recommend a reading. I think his name is Christopher Ryan. He's a journalist. He wrote Civilized to Death. And in his book, he talks about that. He talks about how we were evolved to live in a village, living outside with friends that we knew really well, about 100 people. Just like the retreat center, and without the economic hierarchy, there's so much that has changed for us politically and socially since, but most of our years of evolution were in that setting. So that's just one component. But I think it's important for us to learn more about our roots in that way, of how we evolved and how we're meant to live together and share and cooperate together as a village.
Yeah, so you're having concern about that sort of class differentiation. There's a book that talks about that, how we evolved in a more egalitarian community environment. And that's sort of a desire, perhaps need, to have that sense of community and connection, and less hierarchy, maybe more equality.
Yeah, I think it's the portal. It's a necessary portal to really connect deeply from the heart with each other as well.
Yeah, those values are really the portal, the gateway to connect deeply. So it's really a sense of deep connection can come from that. Okay, that was the time.
Thank you.
So I'll speak to
we're
Matthias.
done. Thank you.
Matthias, can I speak to you?
Yes.
I talked with someone, one of the permaculturists, and we were talking about imaginative empathy, that, there's empathy where you imagine yourself in a situation. And he recommended, he suggested imagine yourself in relation to the retreat center in 5 years. What is the scenario that you imagine? So I was just going to sort of follow up on that thought.
Okay, so you talked with a permaculturist, and he had a suggestion of imaginative empathy, and imagine you being in the next 5 years in the retreat center, and what that would be like.
Yeah, what is everybody's relationship to the retreat center in 5 years? And so I was sort of imagining myself, and I could see myself waking up, at the retreat center, and then going out and taking a swim. There's no pool there yet, but there would be a pool. And taking a morning swim, you know, to kind of just kind of get invigorated, and then looking out at Santa Barbara, because it'd be right on the edge of the, you know, edge there, looking out over Santa Barbara and kind of having that feeling of inspiration.
So when you did that exercise, you imagined waking up and then having a swim and looking out on Santa Barbara and having that sense of inspiration.
And then going to the cafe, I mean, the dining hall, and then having some fresh homemade bread and spreading honey from our own bees on the bread, and then kind of eating that and just really enjoying it, and having walked through the garden kind of to get there. Yeah.
So then after the swim, going to the dining hall and having a fresh homemade bread with honey that's made from the land, and then just taking a walk through the garden and really enjoying it.
Yeah, and then there's a group, we go out and there's some workshops, but there's a group who has like some vans, and it says empathy on it. And it's the empathy tent team, because we have these empathy tents that we take out to public spaces and offer street level listening, you know, to people, and also conflict mediation, street level conflict mediation, which we've done. And they're preparing a caravan to go around the country to spread empathy tents around. We're sort of wishing them all good luck as they kind of get ready to kind of pack up and go spread the empathy message around the country.
Got it. So then after that, you went to the in the parking lot and where the empathy vans were, just getting ready for a nationwide tour to spread empathy on a street, on the ground level, using empathy tents and, of course, empathetic listening.
Yeah, and so they go to a town and they set up kind of on a street square, and they offer listening to, you know, they set up the tent and they say, come, we're here to listen. People come and they, you know, kind of get heard to their satisfaction, like we're doing here. And we can do empathy empathy circles. And we're sort of like, you know, Johnny Appleseed, you know, creating chapters around the country for people doing these this local empathic listening, and setting up empathy chapters, I guess, empathy center chapters.
So so the teams go to a town and set up the tents on a corner, and then do empathetic listening for the community members until they feel heard, like we are doing here. And I envision like being Johnny Appleseed and setting up empathy centers around the country.
And then the final goal will be to converge on the national capital, and set up the empathy tent on the Capitol Mall, and demand that Republicans and Democrats have empathy circles. And we're not leaving here. We're going on a hunger strike until, you know, all the politicians have empathy circles, and we have this cultural change. So
the final goal would be to converge on the Capitol and set up empathy tents in front of the Capitol, and then to have a hunger strike to say we're not leaving until the Republicans and Democrats, you know, have empathy and talk to each other. Yeah,
I feel very heard.
Thank you. Good. My pleasure. Thank you.
So you're up again. Select your listener. Maybe somebody hasn't gone recently.
Okay. Well, how about Larry?
Ready, Matthew.
All right. And just want to say, I really dig your beard.
Thank you.
I'm so yeah, definitely appreciate the conversation. Spinning off of, or building on what Edwin talked about with permaculture, Also, the potential idea that, for example, like honey and other kinds of high value agricultural products could be used as an additional offering to the community, and as a result, an income stream for the center.
Mhm. So spinning off on the idea of Edwin's to create permaculture and maybe an organic garden and organic honey and kind of high ticket items, things that would be really healthy for anyone who lived there and anyone who visited, and really a valuable asset to have on the grounds there.
Yes. And then also there's someone whose name is Jamie Friesen. And oh yes, Jamie Friesen of Ozen Sanctuary. And I tried putting it, adding to the doc, but apparently I'm happy to share this, the links. But basically, he has a training and a vision, vision and a training to support people to do profitable glamping. And
missed the name, but I think Jimmy Frozen or something like that.
Yeah, Jamie Friesen.
Type that name into the document for suggestions, or into the chat or somewhere, so that we can follow up on that. And Jamie, tell me the rest of that, please.
Yeah, so I mean, and this is basically if someone has a vision to essentially go back to the land, they have a process by which you can create a business plan, get an investor to invest on a piece of land, which Edwin, you already have, right? And by the way, you actually have the whole retreat center, right? Which is great. And then to be able to offer, in their case, glamping, which is like glamorous camping. So to help someone to get back to nature and have those experiences, and things like cold plunges and saunas, where it's relatively low cost, but high value. Right. Wow. So even, for example, if you had some, let's say an area where there's a couple of portable saunas on the land there, and or like cold plunges, then somebody could have their experience of, waking up and either taking a trip, a swim in the big pool, right, or a particular cold plunge, and then a sauna like that. And then also one of the things that comes to mind is that could also potentially expand as kind of like both like spiritual and maybe let's say the breathwork crowd. They want to tap in from a spiritual standpoint, and also let's say from the physical. So I'll pause there.
Thank you, Matthews. So you're talking about something called glamorous camping or glamping, and you're envisioning like spas or warm bath kind of situation, as well as a cold dunk for health, and also including the spiritual community in this. And you're envisioning this larger pool where you could go from one pool to the next, and making it into a health center, a spa, and a lot of ideas coming from this development, this project, where there can be investors in the land that you already have, and you could just enhance everything with that kind of investment.
Yeah, and just to say briefly, or to clarify, is not necessarily, I mean, in this case, he has his model, and I would say that the potential takeaway for the retreat center here would be just to have some things, let's say like potential like a cold dunk or sauna, things that are a relatively small investment but have a high wow factor. or a great experience for the individuals, for people coming.
So thank you that you're adding that this, the hot tub, sauna, and the cold dunk could be a very healthy thing, and it's not a big investment, but it could be a high return or a high attraction because people would value that. I think that's what you're saying, for the health effect, and people would want to come to that. It would be attracting to people to participate in, as well as being a healthy activity.
Yep. Thank you, and I feel heard.
Thank you, Matthew. Catherine, will you be my listener? Thank you, Catherine.
Yes, happy to do that, Larry.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying these amazing ideas. I'll stop there.
You're really enjoying these amazing ideas.
Yes, it really is a shared visioning.
It really feels like a shared visioning.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that Carl Rogers and Carl Jung and Marshall Rosenberg would all be very smiling at what we're doing today.
Yeah, and you love thinking about Carl Rogers, Carl Jung, and Marshall Rosenberg, smiling and really appreciating the spirit within which we're connecting here. Yeah.
Yes, and the Dalai Lama too.
And the Dalai Lama.
I mean, this is, this could be a first in a way. It's certainly the first in Santa Barbara to have, it's not devoted just to one denomination, but open to everyone.
This could be one of the first in Santa Barbara, at least, to be opening their doors to everyone, regardless of denomination.
And that it could be based on empathy instead of hierarchy.
And it could be based on empathy instead of hierarchy.
And I think that it's time to give empathy a chance.
And you think it's time to give empathy a chance. Yeah.
You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one.
I may say you're a dreamer, but you're not the only one.
Thank you, Catherine. I feel fully heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. And since I've already had my second chance to speak, shall I pass that on to someone
You
else?
can
so
select
that
whoever you want. And take as much time as you want. I mean, up to 4 minutes. Maybe Jonathan, I think, hasn't gone for a while. So.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Okay, yeah, Jonathan. Yeah, would you like to go?
Well,
The way to pass it on is say, "Oh, Jonathan, select Jonathan." You can say something and say, "I feel fully heard," and then it's his turn once you say you're fully heard.
Oh, okay.
That's just one
Yes,
little trick for keeping within the process.
To keep everybody having equal shot. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, and I feel fully heard. And Jonathan, would you like to be the speaker and find a listener?
So I hear you saying that you feel fully heard and you'd like me to take that opportunity to speak.
Yeah.
Larry, would you reflect?
Great.
So it's interesting. Where would I be 5 years from now? And I think it's a pretty scene to me, just sitting on that mountaintop up at the retreat, looking out over the setting sun and the water below. A nice chair, a nice path, nice vegetation.
So, Jonathan, I'm hearing you're having a vision 5 years from now, sitting on the top of the ridge or the mountain in a nice chair and just enjoying the vision, the scenery, and everything.
Yeah, and that's just a comforting idea. It's a nice idea, looking out.
It's a comforting idea.
Um, I I really don't have much to say. I'm actually looking forward to gardening today. And so I've been a little bit preoccupied with my own shoveling and taking stuff to the dump. So I'll pass on my turn. Let's see, how do we move this along?
Jonathan?
Just say you feel fully heard and it's Larry's turn.
I feel fully heard and it's Larry's turn.
So, Jonathan, I'm hearing that you're thinking of your gardening today. You want to move some things around in the garden, and you're very satisfied with your visioning from the top of the center in a comfortable chair, and you feel fully heard, and you're saying, now it's Larry's turn.
Yes, thank you. I feel fully heard.
Thank you, Jonathan. Well, Edwin, will you be my listener?
Yep, listening.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying these visioning circles.
And you really enjoy these visioning circles.
And I think that the visioning with empathy circles is kind of the foundation of the creation.
And you believe that this is the foundation of sort of a creative foundation.
Yes, because the world has had a lot of domination stuff going on.
And the world has a lot of domination stuff going on. I'm maybe hearing maybe a desire for more equality, need for equality.
Yeah, and I think what Matthias was saying, that if we share these ideas, we're going to find people who are aligned with these ideas, and they want to share in this vision also.
And by sharing these ideas in this way, we're sort of creating a space where people that are aligned with this vision will be attracted to it and come.
Right. And I think that's the step we're at, is sharing the vision.
Yeah, that's the step we are in the process, is just sharing that vision that can attract others.
Thank you, Edwin. I feel fully heard.
Yeah, okay. Speak to Matthias. Yeah,
Yes.
I'm really interested in what sort of everyone's vision is in 5 years in relation to the center. Like, how do you see yourself in relation to the center in 5 years? I think, yeah, it just, because that kind of sets the tone of what people of the expectations or the hopes or something like that.
Yeah. So so you are very excited about everyone sharing about what their visions and hopes are for the next in 5 years, because it really sets the expectation and tone.
Yeah. There's a lot of sort of technical, I mean, just practical things that need to be done. Like, how do we build, we're still in the team forming. How do we build a team to run the place and connect, with the different, groups and it needs so much to be done because, part of it's been renovated. There's a lot that needs renovation. We need, somebody to do the design of the, interior design. We need furniture, we need drapes, we need shower curtains. So that's all this practical stuff that sort of needs to be done.
So right now that there's you appreciate the opportunity to vision even amidst all of the technical things that need to get done, renovations in certain places, as well as forming the team and getting an interior designer and things like getting furniture and even shower curtains.
Yeah, exactly. And I appreciate you're looking at the financial aspect, because that is a big part of it. For financial viability, there's got to be, different ways of having income. And so you're sort of bringing that aspect, and I appreciate that.
So you appreciate how I'm bringing an aspect of like financial viability into the outcomes.
Yeah, I appreciate Catherine's, desire for connectivity. How do people feel connected and have a sense of sort of a deep connection. So that's another, really important part to what we're doing. I want everyone to feel really good and be a model, try to be a model for what can, how to create a culture of empathy.
So you appreciate Catherine and her like bringing forth the idea of connection and really being a role model for empathy.
Yeah, and I appreciate Bill's practicality. He, we're going down there, and it's like he's talking practical, nuts and bolts things. Let's get the schedule of what needs to be done. Step 1, step 2, step 3, and that's another important piece. So everybody kind of brings, their unique skills and mindset.
So you appreciate Bill's practicality and getting on the ground and looking at step 1, step 2, step 3, and you appreciate everyone bringing their unique contribution.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, I hope you could put your email in the chat too a little bit later, and Catherine too, so that we can connect with you. I don't know if you're interested. We're getting Catherine. I don't know where you are located, Mateus, but Catherine is only like half an hour away, and we'll be there between the 9th. I'll be there 9th to the 2nd, April 2nd to the 10th or something like that. So I would love to have Catherine come by and visit with Roger as well while we're there.
So you'd like for myself and Catherine to share the email in the chat, and we'll be there for a week starting April the 2nd, and yeah.
Yeah, I feel fully heard. Thanks.
All right, thank you. And just I will take immediate action on that. Okay. All right. Yeah, definitely. Oh, I guess I needed to choose someone. How about Bill?
Okay, listening.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely appreciate this space, and I definitely feel heard. I wanted to also share to kind of clarify in regards to Catherine's sharing previously.
Okay.
I guess I'll pause.
Yeah, so you're appreciating what you're hearing, and specifically you wanted to address what Catherine had said earlier.
Yeah. So first of all, I totally get it, and I hear you. And so I would say that that my the kind of the question of the open question of okay, what is a level of the kind of the level of, let's just say, design, that would be a question essentially for all the aspects of the center.
Okay, so you're acknowledging the the practicality issues as well as the visioning, and you think that both are important. I believe that's what I heard when you referred to Catherine. No, okay, correct.
No, just in regards to the difference between creating like separation, and
Oh, I see.
here are people that have the have stuff, and here are the people that don't have stuff, and wanting to be able to create an even experience for everyone in the retreat center.
So specifically, the issue that Catherine brought up that you wanted to address was the hierarchical aspect of the haves and the have-nots there.
Yeah. So the open question of what could be a potential level of design, and it even doesn't, as I said, it doesn't actually have to necessarily be a lot of monetary cost per se, but just the level of design for the whole center. And then I think that it does seem like important that whatever let's just say on a practical logistical standpoint, if there's part of the retreat center that is being renovated and then maybe part of it's not yet, yeah, I mean that there's just understanding and accommodation between those, that there's not like someone paying like a ton of money more or a ton of money less in the same event.
Right. So you're looking at the difference between the level of accommodations that there might be, like in the renovated part as far as the unrenovated part, or maybe even a camping area. But having a feeling that whatever the event is, there's some egalitarian and inclusive ethos.
Yes. Yes. So just want to wanted to say and share that, at risk of getting too much into the weeds.
Mhm.
Really appreciate and also resonate with just this vision of of a small connected group around a campfire, experiencing what it means to truly belong.
Yeah. So coming back to the idea of whoever is there at whatever level of accommodation, you see like gathering in the evening around a small campfire and everyone sharing fellowship.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, there was a cat jumping on and then falling off. So yes, I feel fully heard. Thank you.
All right. I'll go back to Catherine. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, there's a place up here near us called Harbin Hot Springs. And so we used to go there. And they had like a main house with rooms, but they also had a camping area. But once you were in, they had the hot springs, which was the main attraction. Everybody used the hot springs and everybody had that. So I camped there, not being a man of tremendous means. It was interesting. I did not feel the hierarchy there. In other words, the amenities of the whole Harbin Hot Springs were open to us, but we stayed in a tent. I'll stop there.
Yeah. Thanks, Bill. So what I'm hearing from you is that your experience at Harbin Hot Springs was that even though, that you did not have the means, or at least to prioritize getting like one of the rooms, so you camped, but you did not have a sense while you were there of hierarchy between the people, and everyone fully enjoyed the common areas.
Right. Yeah. And so I enjoy the visioning, but also if practically it's going to work, you do have to prioritize the nuts and bolts. I'll stop there.
and you enjoy the visioning, and to make it work, you need to address the nuts and bolts.
Right. And I see the nuts and bolts, the first steps, this is just my, idea, is renovating it to a point where people feel comfortable there when they come there, and also promotion. I feel that those two things have to happen almost simultaneously.
So your picture of how it can happen is to simultaneously address the renovation,
Hmm.
and such that people will be comfortable. And then also, what was the second piece besides the renovation?
Well, the renovation and promotion.
Promotion, right?
Right.
Simultaneously.
Yeah, and then coming down, thinking practical, what I'm going to, is that I'm going to bring down my camera, and which can take panoramic views. So hopefully we can get some nice panoramic views both in the day and the night.
And so one of your first steps is to bring down your camera and take panoramic views both day and night of the area, the vicinity.
Yeah, and the other thing is that I'm going to bring down my boomerangs. And so as a special ed teacher, many of my students were sort of alone a lot of the time, didn't have a lot of friends. So I would teach them to throw, but also to make their own boomerangs, which is pretty easy. And so that they could get out there and, if they didn't have a friend, they had an activity to do.
So as a special ed teacher, one of the activities that you have seen really work for people is, and especially people who are feeling lonely and maybe not connected to someone that will go out and play with them, is to use boomerangs.
Yeah, and boomerangs is another. Yeah, and boomerangs, and I'm almost done here with my time. And boomerangs is another way to also listen to the wind, because there are different layers of the wind. And so essentially really good boomerangers, of which I am not one, can actually use a carom shot off a tree. In other words, if there's a tree and there's wind, it actually creates a high pressure area, and you can bounce the boomerang off that high pressure area and then make it come around.
Wow. So you've seen some fancy boomeranging where where people, the ones who are really advanced, can take advantage of high pressure areas like around a tree and use that energy to bounce off of.
Right. And the last thing I'll say, and so that's an area of where that makes something that is usually invisible, visible.
And that's an area where something that's usually invisible becomes visible.
Right. Thank you. I feel fully heard.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, let's see. Maybe Edwin. I've kind of lost track of who's gone.
Listening.
Okay, so I think I want to touch on a couple things. One is just like a curriculum idea. I think that I don't know the exact quote, but I know the Dalai Lama has spoken to the role of women in the healing of the planet. And I've been learning more about the divine feminine. And I do think it just seems that that's one of the medicines that's obviously needed worldwide. So I would love to have like part of the center, and I guess this combines with what I see myself possibly in 5 years from now doing. But and it's also interesting. I know some people who are deeply involved with the Hunger Project and also micro lending projects, where they observed that giving the empowering the girls and the women, like having them have the little cottage industries and getting them going. What happens if what it's and I mean it makes sense. Women are community weavers just by nature. And when you give the women the resources, and I realize you need to reflect back, sorry. The resources spread through the community. It's just how they go. When the men have the resources, it gets stacked up. The resources stack up.
So you're looking at sort of the healing and that so supporting women's or feminine energy. What the observation is that when resources are given to the women, like in microloans and so forth, the resources get spread throughout the community. Whereas when the resources are given to men, that it creates this sense of hierarchy. So you're kind of looking, and this is also relating to yourself, how you imagine yourself relating in 5 years to the space. There's some sort of a connection there.
Yeah, it's right. And it's not just that there's a hierarchy created out of that, but it's like the resources, it's almost like if you think of a water system, it's places where the resources get dammed up or clogged up.
So it's more not so much hierarchy, but the resources get blocked. They're like a dam, and the resources don't spread through the society.
Yes, not available to nourish all.
Yeah, it's sort of like water. It gets dammed up and it can't nourish all the different plants or what have you.
Yeah. See what else. Well, I just want to say that I really love the ecological and nature components as well. It's a holistic part of peacemaking, which I believe like empathy is about peacemaking and human connection and belonging.
So you really appreciate the natural part of it, the nature. I think maybe the permaculture, because that has a healing quality, just like empathy supports healing. Sort of awareness of nature would support healing, which is important to you.
Ecotherapy, and that's our time.
Yeah, so like ecotherapy, with that healing, using the ecology to heal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is right out the back door of the retreat center too.
Yeah, open
like
the back door and you're in a national
Canyon.
forest. Rattlesnake Canyon, Mission Canyon. So yeah. Okay, Jonathan, speak to you.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm starting to create some lists that we have a lot of visioning circles, and I got to get better at sort of harvesting and organizing all the insights that come up. So it kind of, while we're doing it, I like to organize. It's like afterwards, it's so much work to go through and organize everything. I don't enjoy it so much. It's just a lot of work.
I hear you saying that you really want to work hard at getting your organizational homework together. You kind of avoid it a little bit, but you really see an importance in organizing your notes better.
Yeah. So it's like I'm sorting it steps to do, values of the space. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Income streams, because all these kind of ideas can sort of be sorted and sort of organized, sort of effectively, so that they sort of build on each other.
So you're sort of laying out a tapestry of to-do lists, everything from values to income streams.
Yeah, it's not so much a to-do list, but of sorting the insights, like, because the insights all kind of fit together. Like, Mateus had mentioned, income streams. So a lot of people have different ideas about that. So you need to kind of organize those ideas and insights, and organize and prioritize too.
So you're acknowledging that the discussions that we're having are valuable to you because it's allowing you to see the large picture of how a lot of ideas and a lot of different approaches can work together.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to, in a week or so going down there, and we got several people, Bill, Lou, Melanie, I think there's somebody else, Zach. There's a bunch of us going down there. So we don't have, there's some old mattresses, so there'll be a mattress on the floor. You got to bring your own blankets and sheets. And actually, there are some sheets there that the caretakers are going to be washing some, so there will be some sheets there. So anyway, this is kind of our first kind of a group event there, so I'm kind of excited about that.
So I hear you sharing some excitement on next week, visit to the facility where you've going to be taking along 4 or 5 people, and you're saying that it's going to be a little primitive. However, it'll be the first.
It'll be
a start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's nothing like kind of being in the space to really start thinking about it. I went down, I'm in the Bay Area, went down to Santa Barbara. So my brother and I, we actually moved furniture. I mean, we just like moved all kinds of furniture. It still needs to be sorted. We need the dumpster there to throw out the old stuff and kind of pick out the good stuff and maybe have a garage sale or donate the other stuff. So there's all those sort of details that need to be done. So I'm looking forward to putting Bill to work with moving furniture.
So you're just inventorying just all of the things that you'd like to start getting a handle on when you take your visit to Santa Barbara, and you're hoping that Bill's going to materially assist you in taking care of business.
Yeah, and I hope Roger and Catherine bring some friends up. So with that, I feel heard. Yeah.
Okay, and that's our time.
So do you want to take your turn? I think then we'll kind of open it up after your turn, Roger. I mean,
46. How about let's just wrap it up?
You want to just open it up? Okay. Yeah, we got.
Yeah.
So we can just open it to open discussion, maybe about 10 minutes or so, and just without reflection. I don't know if there's any questions, any comments, just anything sort of on your mind, just jump right in. And
so I'm of course I'm supportive of building a facility in Santa Barbara, but I just find it overwhelming personally. I also have to be careful not to make promises that I can't keep. Bill and I are working on some local projects, and we're also working on the Empathy in Schools, which ultimately supports creating a culture of empathy. So it becomes a challenge, to balance. I see the retreat as a very global, very bigger than something I could ever accomplish goal. Kind of like captures my imagination. And I just hope I can just do something local. So I'm kind of trapped between the local and the global.
well, in terms of the education, because there's a center like that, and I think it should be able to get real publicity. I think it'll really help the whole empathy in the schools work. There's already different people have mentioned they're wanting to bring young people to the center or connect with organizations in the area. So I really hope it'll become to create a group there, to a project group for empathy in the schools. Well, the idea is that we have different project groups, and that they can see about getting donations and funding. So there can be an empathy in the school project, a group that sort of runs that. It's grounded, centered at the empathy center, and that donors like to fund like specific projects, so empathy in the schools, or if there's an interest in a project group for empathy and mediation, you know, and so we can do mediation center and see about getting donors to fund that. So I think that's your sort of interest too, Catherine, is sort of mediation type work. So the idea is, if you have if you have a project idea, you know, form a team around it. It starts off being by you know, volunteers, but that we can try to get funding so that they can become paid, you know, staff that kind of runs it. So that's sort of the current model or idea. You're muted, Catherine.
Thanks. Yes, and I wanted to mention regarding the 5 years and my involvement. I would have, I didn't say it because it was, it feels so obvious inside of myself. But the nonviolent communication work, so training in that would be of paramount for me in terms of what I'd want to bring. Yeah, and so that could be a group like you're talking about.
Yeah, I think there's a pretty big community down there. I spoke to someone, I think she's in Santa Barbara, or not Santa Barbara, San Diego. Anyway, had been very instrumental in CNVC, you know, the Center for Nonviolent Communication, was interested in, you know, kind of, can even have the conference, you know, the NVC conferences or whatever kind of be held there.
Yeah. Who do you remember her name?
I don't right off the bat. I
Okay.
don't remember.
Melanie
And
Spears.
it seems,
I don't know if that's the one, but Melanie Spears, do you know her? Because Roger knows her.
Melanie, she's going to
Oh,
be coming
no,
up,
I don't-
but
Yeah, but she's involved in it. See,
yeah, there was somebody else too. It was just
Right.
very involved and had been sort of at a lot of the cutting edge NVC work, you know, starting from way back with I think Roger is quite pretty involved too. So
oh yeah, he is. Yes, he organizes. He's organized for many years. The it was in Santa Barbara, but it's had a couple different locations in Southern California, the conference, and now it's online. But it seems like many people here have some kind of connection with NBC or knowledge of it, right? It seems like, and here in this group.
I've overlapped with the NVC community. I haven't been sort of like, you know, deeply involved. The empathy work that you know, I've done is more of a broad. I see, you know, with NVC being one of the components, but you know, just kind of overlapping with, you know, everything from, you know, therapists to conflict mediation to I would say human-centered design. So the design community using empathy as a component. So it's sort of a broader view than just NVC. So but you know, I appreciate what NVC brings. I mean, it's all kind of the same roots with Rogerian active empathic listening.
Yeah.
Is sort of a core foundation, since Marshall Rosenberg was a grad student with Rogers, I think.
Yeah.
I saw you shaking your head, Matthias, about design. Are you familiar with human-centered design, or?
I guess broadly, you know, it's interesting. I guess another thing that came to mind is that you may be aware of as just a kind of an overview or a concept is what's it called? It's spiral dynamics. Have you heard of spiral dynamics?
I've heard of it.
Okay. Yeah, it just
Mm.
in a lot of ways, and I think no system is perfect, but there are a number of things like in South Africa that like specific real world scenarios that it has been supportive, and in a certain way it kind of like maps different value sets in consciousness. Yeah, so it's that can be of interest. But some other things that I was just looking up, I'll get this link for you. But in terms of empathy, and what's the business case for empathy? Well, actually, Forbes says that it's actually like the #1 skill for leaders.
For leaders. Mhm.
Yeah, #1 skill for leaders, and I think it's. I just saw the headline from another article from Forbes of like, oh, applied empathy. What's that? It's compassion. Oh, wow. So the kind of the business, more stodgy business world, I think, is starting to come around to this sooner or later. Whether it's and also some, I think, additional benefits, and I'm happy to post all these links too. But an amazing someone that her name is Zoe Christina Solaris, and she has created essentially like an expanded zodiac. And so it's like how you can draw the wisdom from the stars, as well as connect with your anointed ancestry and the roots in order to help birth whatever project that you want to create. So I found her work to be incredibly powerful. And so just the idea that instead of only keeping the vision like in your own energy field, to use a little woo-woo language, you can actually take that and plant it into the earth. So the earth holds the vision in addition to just trying to like keep it in your own energy field. So found that has been very potent, kind of maybe more mystical, but potent work.
Well, just responding. Oh yeah, just responding to that. We're open to any kind of workshops, kind of being held there. So it's kind of an open space for workshops like that you're talking about, Mateus. And in terms of empathy in business, I just put in a link there to Empathy Movement magazine that I curate. So those are for the past over 10 years, I kind of keep a track on articles that are written about empathy. And there's this program, Scoop It, that you kind of bring it into, you just can capture the article and post it. So I have over 8,000 articles there on empathy, just every day there's, a couple. And there is that trend of empathy in business and empathy in leadership. So that's definitely a lot of articles being written about that. So, and if you go to that,
Edwin,
yeah, go ahead.
Excuse me, you may have put it into a private chat because I don't see it.
Oh, yeah, I sent it. I put it into the weight room. So that's it. There it is. Thanks for catching that.
Thank you.
And then it's also broken down. There's sub articles, I sort them by articles. So one of the sub articles is NVC. So there's articles that I come across, for NVC I put in there, but there's empathy in animals, empathy in art, NVC, curriculums, education, and the work. So that covers the business. And you'll see a lot of articles under work on leadership. It's a big topic now. So we definitely could hold some trainings, about that.
Awesome. And also, I just posted Christina's link in the chat. And specifically, I mean, there could be the potential of her doing a retreat. And specifically, a thought is she also has a number of even just complimentary resources on her website, so that some of what she offers or that body of work could be of support to you personally and to the group, Edwin, in regards to the retreat center.
And the visioning and the whole process sounds like. Yeah, so we'll be going down. There's 14 rooms right now. They're totally empty, except we'll have some mattresses flopped down. So I'll add you to the list, Catherine. Just I don't know if you're interested in
Yes.
coming up during the time. Maybe you can coordinate with Roger. You know, come up together. We could hold some empathy circles. Just review the space and talk about ideas in person. Maybe have there is a grill. We can bring up some food to grill and stuff. Have dinner there with us. So. And I'll add you to the list if you'd like to just to know what the plan is, because it'll change as long as it's not raining. I don't want to drive down in the rain, so we'll just might shift a little bit if it's a really rainy that weekend. But anyway, just want to thank everyone for taking part. We'll be here again next week, next Saturday, same time. Bring some friends. And also on Fridays, we have a volunteers group. So if you're interested in becoming a volunteer on for the center, you can join us in that volunteer group. We're going to be creating those project groups, so if you have a project, mediation or business or whatever, empathy in business, can come and get involved in setting up those project groups there. So. With that, I guess we'll just close, and we like to have our jazz hands closing if you're willing to give us some jazz hands. So thanks for joining us, and bye for now.
Thank you, Edwin.
Thank
you,
you.
everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Much love.
Bye, everyone. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.